Good afternoon, good evening, YouTube. Cuts by Dre, New Styles Mobile Barber, back in the building for another haircut tutorial. Today we're going to be doing a mid box fade, a bald fade on the bottom, box fade, kind of afro on top. And we're going to be doing this fade in real time. If you've been checking out my channel, you know I like to work on speed. I like to get everybody with a faster way of cutting hair. Not to say any other techniques are wrong or right, but you know, I believe I can improve your speed just a little bit. So I basically start off all my fades. If you've been checking out my channel, if it's a bald fade, I will start out with my clippers, man. Whatever clipper you choose, I'll start it off closed blade, all the way closed. That means as close as you can cut. And I'll do my initial bald guideline all the way around. Meaning I'm going to cut that as close as I can. I'm going to give you that initial line all the way around. I do not use my edges. I do not use my edges for that initial bald line because I'm trying to eliminate steps. I'm trying to make the process a little bit quicker, improve on your speed, improve on your timing. So I'm cutting out one step, and I normally come back at the end and bald my haircuts out, as I will show you in this video. So after I put that initial bald guideline in, I'll do what I call a pre-shape up right around that C-cup area. I like to do that pre-shape up because I don't like to cut that part out. I don't like to lighten that part as I begin my fade. And by doing a pre-shape up, it allows me to see that area, trying to keep that area dark right in that area so that I won't accidentally fade it too light, so that you can see that nice line. And you don't need as many highlights as you normally would use, or you might not need any highlights at all because you'll have that dark shape up on that C-cup. Right after that, I'll go into fading out that first line. I'll take the #1 guard. I'm using the Babyliss right here, my Babyliss Pros here, and I'll use that #1 guard with the wrist flicking action. I'll flick up and then I'll actually go down. So I'm always cutting against the grain when I'm flicking up, and then when I'm going down with it, I'm going with the grain as I'm cutting down. As you can see, I just methodically go around the head in real time. I'll flick up and then I'll go down. You make sure you always go down with the pattern in which the hair grows, and when you're cutting up, you're cutting against the grain, against the pattern in which the hair grows. Cutting down allows that hair to be laid down nice and smooth, and as I flick up with it, it allows me to get up under that hair so that I can get a nice clean cut with it. Now this actually helps me eliminate steps as well. So I'm actually fading with pretty much 2 guards here. I use my 1 guard and I use my half guard pretty much to cut this entire head. So as you see, I'm methodically going around the head, flicking up and then going down. I've taken the guard off now in an attempt to get out that first line. I'll use that wrist action, always flicking that wrist out. Make sure when you're cutting hair, you're not digging into the head, that you're going in and you're flicking out, kind of like a circular motion, flicking the clippers out towards you. And I'll continue to do that all the way around the head until I see a desired fade pattern starting to take effect. There's not a particular amount of times that I do it, you know, it's pretty much by sight. You know, every hair is different, every texture of hair is different. So I'm pretty much doing it by sight. I'll do as many times as I need to, adjusting the lever on the clippers appropriately too. The higher you go up in the fade, the more you need to bring that lever back. You know, the closer you are to the bottom of the fade, the baldness of the fade, that's the closest you want that lever all the way to the sharpest point of the clippers all the way up. So as you can see here now, I'm just going around the back. I'm doing that flick motion as well, just trying to take out that line, you know, not getting it perfect, just trying to take it out, just trying to smooth it down, making it smooth enough so when I come back with my next guard, when I'm doing detail work, it'll fall right into place. So as you can see here, I'm just methodically tapping on this cut. One thing I like to do when I'm cutting hair is, as most barbers always do, man, always brush your hair down when you're cutting it. You know, have some type of soft brush in your hand, or a comb, fine tooth comb, but I prefer a brush to always brush that hair back down as you're cutting. And every once in a while, you got to bring that brush in. Not only are you brushing the hair, the loose hairs out of the hair, you're also kind of smoothing out the hair so you can see that fade in real time. So this right here is an Afro Box Fade. You don't see a lot of these, you know, in this day and era. They were very popular back in the day. I say about 15 years ago, when us barbers really had to work for our money. Now you got a lot of temple fades because a lot of brothers, you know, a lot of people are wearing their hair in braids on top. They might have twists, they might have dreads, and we're doing a lot of temple fades, you know, a lot of burst fades, not a lot of fades all the way around like this one. This here is a fade all the way around, so it takes a little bit more time, but you should still be able to get your fades well under 30 minutes. Okay, now that I'm satisfied with the bottom, I pick the top out. That's my first pick out. I normally pick the top out a couple of times as I'm doing an Afro cut or a box cut, and then I'll take my sharpest clipper. Once again, I'm using the Babeless Pro, and I will freehand the top. This is where you need to have a steady hand, ladies and gentlemen. We're not using any guards on top of his hair. We are just going to freehand, and we're going to box this cut up as best as possible. Just think about a shoebox. You're trying to get those edges as 90-degree possible as possibly can. Now, of course, it's not going to be perfect. Nobody's head is perfectly square, but your job is to try to get it as boxed and as perfectly boxed as you possibly can. So in doing that, you want to do as you see I'm doing. You don't want to dig into the haircut. You want to also kind of flick out. You're going straight up, but you're coming kind of out on an angle. The worst thing you could do is cut into the hair and kind of start making it like a pyramid effect, going up to an angle. You want to kind of keep it straight up as possible. So in doing that, you want to kind of like flick up as well. As you cut that hair off, you want to kind of bring it out so that you can keep that hair as vertically as straight as possible. So that's what you see me doing right now. I'm going around my client's hair, you know, freehanding it, getting that top box as much as possible. This cut is done in real time. I'm not speeding it up, so you can see about how long it should take to cut this client's hair. Now, I did edit out every time I turned the chair, so you didn't have to see me turning the chair and readjusting the camera. I did edit out those parts, so you probably can take off a minute or two of, you know, time worth of spinning the chair around. But other than that, this cut is done in real time. As you can see here, I'm still going around this client's hair, trying to get this box as straight as I possibly can, going across the top as if it was a flat ironing board, trying to make it as boxy as possible. Kind of like that Kid and Play haircut back in the day. I'm sure all of y'all remember that Kid and Play, and if you don't remember, go on YouTube and look it up. That's what you call a box haircut. So that's kind of like the effect that I'm going for right now, trying to get it as boxed as possible. My particular client didn't want a lot of hair off. He didn't want a lot of hair off. So with these haircuts, you do have to pick them out more than once, because just one go around, you know, it's not going to be as perfect as possible. But you don't want to continue to keep picking and cutting, because each time you pick the hair out, you're cutting off more hair. So I normally stop at 2. I'll do one pick out, and then I'll trim it up, and then I'll come back with another pick out, which you just seen me done, and then I'll start the whole process over again, and I'll try to box it up and smoothen it out as best as possible. Now, the reason why you don't want to do more than 2 pick outs or comb outs is because you're going to, each time you do that, I don't care how perfect your cutting skills are, each time you comb somebody's hair out, it's going to kind of frizz up, because this particular client has naturally tight curly hair. So each time you pick it out, of course it's going to, you know, the hair is going to maneuver out of position, out of the desired position that you want it to be in. So now you come back in and you reshape the haircut all over again. This is the last time I will reshape it, because I don't want to keep doing that, because if you keep doing that, you're going to keep lowering the top and you're going to keep bringing in the sides, and you don't want to do that. So as you see here, this is the second time I'm going through his hair, trimming it up, making it as boxy as I possibly can, as sharp as I possibly can, all the way around with the clippers. Now, as you can see here, okay, what you got going on. I'm working methodically through his hair, going up with it, with the blade off. This is my sharpest clipper right here that I'm using. You want to use a fine, sharp blade for this, because you want those edges to be as sharp as possible. So as you see now, I'm cleaning them up, going around that top, getting it as boxy as I possibly can. And it's coming along. It's coming along pretty good now. The timing of the haircut is around the time in which I feel that I'm approaching the correct time. We're about at the 15, 16 minute mark into this haircut, so I'm satisfied at where I am with the haircut. Now, I want to blend that top part into that bottom fade, so he don't look like he got a Bart Simpson haircut, or a bowl on his head. So to do that, I'll put that half guard on. I'll use that half guard, and I'll use that same flick up motion, and I'll turn that guard around, and I'll do the same cut down motion in order to blend that area right there where the bottom of the cut meets the top of the cut. You don't want it to look like there's a bowl around his head. You want that to kind of gradually fade in so that it looks like a smooth waterfall transition. So this particular client, this is done with the 1.5 guard. So I will methodically go around his head with the 1.5 guard, and I will stroke until in the necessary positions. I'll keep stroking the hair, keep going up, making sure that I'm using that wrist action, flicking out each time. So that's pretty much what I'm doing right here, and I'll keep doing that until there's no particular step to this. There's no particular, okay, I'm gonna go around one time, I'm gonna go around 2 times. No, I'm gonna keep hitting these areas until I feel as though the fade is coming in. I'll constantly brush it down with my comb or with my brush, and I'll constantly, kind of monitor the haircut to see where the fade is. After I use that 1.5, I'll come back down with the 1 guard. Since it's a little bit closer, I'll use the 1 guard, and I'll do the same effect, but this time I'm not as high up. You notice I'm just a little bit lower now. I'm not going to use that 1 guard too high, because I don't want to dig into the haircut. I don't want to mess that part of the haircut out that's right around this area right here. I want to keep this area right here as blended and as dark as possible. So as I take my guards off, you'll notice I'm going further down in the hair. As you can see here now, I'm fading around the back. He has a small bump right there in the back of his head. So situations like this, you want to kind of hide those bumps. You don't want those bumps or anything on a customer head to stick out and be noticeable. If you can hide it, you can. So that's one reason why I'm keeping the fade a little bit below that bump, so you can't really notice it. And clients may have different effects. Some might have a lump on the top of the head. Some might have some fat jelly rolls on the back of the head. You want to try to hide those as much as possible to complement the client's haircut. They can't see the back of their head, so they're not going to really notice that when you show them the mirror, but you can see it. So you want to make sure that you can give your client the best haircut, even in the spots in which they can't see it. Now I'm going across the bottom. As you can see, I got my edges out, and I'm cleaning up that bottom. This is where I give them the bald fade. Of course, by using the edges now and using that flick out motion as well, I'm not creating another bald line. As you can see, I'm not creating another line that I have to take out. I'm pretty much just fading in and flicking out all the way around, cleaning up the bottom of his neck. I like this method better too, because I believe, and this is just my personal opinion, but I believe it gives you a more gradual fade, a smoother fade, opposed to starting to fade off with the edges, especially upside down when you're putting a hard line in. I think this gives a much smoother fade. Now, it won't be perfectly smooth. You'll have to go back and clean that up a little bit with your clippers again, all the way closed, but you'll get a much smoother, better, gradual fade look, in my opinion. And you can judge for yourself by looking at this particular haircut. All right, so now I'm hitting the beard. Yes, we're knocking out a full haircut and a beard trim all in 30 minutes. See where I'm at now. All within 30 minutes, okay? So we're not going to do any razor work on this particular client. You know, some clients I do razor work, some clients I don't. You know, I do razor work when I feel as though that the client wants it or needs it, but I just don't whip out the razor and start razoring every client. For one thing, when you got a busy schedule and you schedule your appointments every 30 minutes, you don't have time to whip that razor out every time. So I use my sharpest clippers, and I give them the sharpest edge up that I possibly can with my sharpest clippers. And it's been working fine for me. So no, I don't do razor work like you might see a lot of barbers do. I'm not knocking the razor work at all. Razor work, you know, it looks good, it's sharp. It'll definitely give you a couple more days on your shape up. But if you push for time and you're trying to get these haircuts out in under 30 minutes, you don't always have the time to do razor work all the way around. Just keep that in mind. So here I'm using my Flex, my Stylecraft Flex, which I still believe are the sharpest edges out there on the market right now. I know they keep coming out with all kind of clippers, and that's the nature of any business. You got to keep coming out with new equipment, new clippers, in order to stay in business, in order to keep the needle moving. In my opinion, once you get these Stylecraft Flex, I don't think you have to get any more clippers. I have a couple of these, and I've tried a number of edges, and I have not seen any edges that not only cut sharp, but they do not cut the client. They do not leave scabs on the client. My client will come back the next week, 2 weeks, or even a week later, and you won't see any type of healing lines on their head where you cut them or where you scab them up. None of that. So that's very important. You can get a sharp pair of clippers, and it might look razor sharp when they leave in the barber shop, but that's exactly what it is. It's razor sharp. It's cutting into the skin, and that's not a good look, man, when it comes time to heal, or, you know, how it looks in general after a couple of days. So right now I'm cleaning my client up, man. I'm giving him that nice sharp line with my Stylecraft Flex clippers. I'm shaping that beard up. He doesn't want much, if any, hair off his beard, so I'm just going to shape it up, and then I'm going to just lightly take off the loose ends all the way around. So this haircut is coming together, man. Now I'm starting to work on his top line, going around that C-cup. As you can see, since I left that area dark in the beginning of my haircut, when I gave him that pre-shape up, I kind of left that area around the C-cup dark so that you don't really need highlight spray at all. And if you do use highlights, you only got to use just a little bit, so it doesn't look like it's fake, or it doesn't look like you painted it on. You know, we like to joke a lot in the barbershop, you know, the customers coming in for a haircut and not a paint job. So, you know, we try to use as little highlights as possible. A lot of customers love these highlights now. YouTube and other videos out here, they have really focused on a lot of the highlights and the airbrushing, and a lot of customers are asking for it. So you definitely got to give them what they want. But you as a professional got to know when there's a limit. Don't put too much on. Don't have them just looking like they came out of the chocolate factory or something. All right, so now as you see, I'm putting that hairline on him, going around him nice and sharp. And as you can see, he really doesn't need highlights. He really doesn't need them. Now he can use a little bit on his beard, and which you will see a little bit later. I will touch him up just a little bit, but he doesn't really need them. And once those highlights go away, and they will fade away after a few days, he'll still have a nice shape up, a nice dark line around, because I left that C-cup kind of dark in the beginning. So right now I'm doing touch-up work, you know, just touching up, going around his haircut once again, looking at the different parts of his hair, seeing what I can improve. You know, that touch-up work is very, very important when you're cutting on a client's hair. You know, you may consider the haircut finished, but just keep going around. You look at your watch, you say, hey, I got a few more minutes, I got a little bit more time I can work on my client. So make sure you do that touch-up work. And as always, man, bring those shears out on your clients. If they got an afro, even if they got a close haircut, finish them off with those shears, because those shears are going to cut fine hairs off that the clippers miss. They're going to finalize that haircut. They're going to impress the client as well. Get comfortable using them. Get you a nice sharp pair of shears and learn how to work them, and make sure you don't cut your client with them. I have seen that happen. So once you do that, man, you're approaching a pretty sharp haircut. You know, I like the way this haircut came out. As you can see now, I'm giving them a little highlights. I use that tintation. I don't really use the airbrush machines anymore because of the time it takes to clean them out, and they get clogged a lot. So you see here, I'm just hitting them just ever so slightly, not giving them a lot, you know, just a little bit, just enough so that this haircut can look as natural as possible. Then once I hit that highlight, finish the highlights, I'll come back with my style crafts and I'll kind of clean up and shape up again, because once you hit those highlights, you can kind of see hairs just a little bit out of line, out of place, so you can go back around and clean those up as much as possible. So we're coming around to a finished product, y'all. Tell me what you think, man, about this haircut, man. If you like what you've been seeing, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit that notification bell. And this right here is what I call my powder line. It's when I put a little talcum powder on my clippers. Well, right now I'm still shaping them up, but in a second I'm gonna do that powder line on them. And that powder line helps to highlight the haircut, the shape up as well. A lot of barbers, they'll use the chalk and then they'll come back with the razor. Since I don't use the razor a lot, I'll use the powder, and it gives you the same effect. Right now I'm using my Andes shavers, and I'm just going around the bottom of his fade. I never hit the client's back of the neck. You know, some barbers may disagree. You know, you can go all the way around, but I've been cutting for 30 years and I've seen a lot of necks break out behind barbers in the shop using those shavers on the back of the neck. And let me tell you, once you get those bumps on the back of your neck, especially if they're coming from shavers, they don't never go away. You basically had to go to a dermatologist just to get them to look a little bit better. As you see here now, I'm using that powder line. That's what a lot of barbers use the chalk. I use the powder. Kind of gives you the same effect, but it's a whole lot faster. I'll take these clippers that you see I'm using. They're kind of like an open clipper. They're one of the clippers a lot of barbers use for doing designs. They have a small blade on the front. It's open so that the powder doesn't get inside the clippers and clog them up. And I like doing this because it not only does it highlight the hairline, but that powder also glides down across the forehead, and it lets you see other hairs that you did not cut, that you thought you cut, but you actually didn't. Hair that's still on the client's head, baby hairs, and just other hairs in general. So then I'll go across, clean that up with my clippers as well, get all those loose hairs that I thought that I had cut off. So this is about it right here, man. This is the finished product. This is a box medium fade haircut, box fade. Tell me what y'all think, y'all. Leave me some comments. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit that notification bell. Once again, this is Cuts by Dre, New Styles Mobile Barber. Let me know what you think, y'all. Hey, and I will see y'all in the next video. Peace.